Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Health meeting of October 19th, 2020. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Also, just a reminder, if you're on a phone, please mute your microphone. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that the person who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the number posted on your screen. The call-in number is 1-508-945-4410, and the conference ID number is 160310024, pound. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Chairman Beckley.
Thank you, Judy. I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Tonight we have two hearings and a general discussion on COVID update. Let's take the first issue, which is a variance hearing and approval of IA technology for John and Benji Collins, lot 325 Joshua Jethro Road, and representing East Southeast LLC is Thad Eldridge. Thad, you're on the call.
That I
am. You have the floor, Thad. Introduce the application.
Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. We have a
little bit louder, Thad.
Oh, sorry. Keep me in line.
That's good. That's better.
We have an almost 29,000 square foot lot in River Bay that has not yet been built upon. The proposal is to put in a by right building meeting all the zoning code and a septic system that can support 3 bedrooms. In order to make that work with the local and the state regulations, we're proposing an IA technology. And that's the purpose for being here, is just to get that 3rd bedroom. Otherwise, we have a conforming septic system meeting all the setbacks and a conforming site. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Thad. Any Board of Health members have any questions for Thad on the design and the? I know there's a lot of slope issues on this parcel. Maybe Thad can talk about that.
Sure. I mean, it's presumed that one of the reasons this hadn't been developed in the past is because it was on a big hillside. If anyone's been out there, you'll see that the hill was flattened, or it was steepened to the south and flattened in the middle, and then made more hilly to the north. The proposal is to have a walkout basement towards the north. There are 2 wing walls coming out, and then it'll be the flat yard. The slope to the south is going to be regraded a bit. The slope that's there now could be stabilized, or they could flatten a little bit to make it survive for quite some time.
Okay. Judy, in terms of the town regulations, who has ultimate say over the final slopes and water drainage on a parcel like this?
You know, the Board of Health doesn't really usually get too involved with slopes, except for how it would affect the septic system. They can't create any type of a nuisance situation. They can't have any drainage that would flood, create a situation that would allow drainage onto another person's property or onto the road. So that's really all there is. I did speak to the building commissioner about this, and he basically said the same thing. It can't create a nuisance situation. All drainage needs to remain on the parcel.
Okay,
And just to clarify that, drainage patterns are supposed to remain the same.
Correct.
If we kept all drainage on parcels, we'd never have a river again.
That's true. Right, so you're not gonna create a situation that's different than what is already existing out there. And if anything, you wanna make it better.
any questions from Board of Health members or comments on this application?
Yeah, this is Noble. So do I understand that by right, this lot, you could build a two-bedroom home? And the IA with the variance, would that allow you to put in a three-bedroom home? It's for
Correct.
that. Yeah.
Yes, this is a zone 2. And they would be allowed, because they have over 20,000 square feet, to have a 2-bedroom property with the IA that they've proposed, which is approved for nitrogen reduction by DEP. They can add the 3rd bedroom.
Right, and then you've said in your review that you agree that this IA system meets all the regulations of Title V. Yeah.
Correct. This was their particular system they're proposing is approved for nitrogen reduction in a zone 2 of a public water supply.
Okay, and then just let me ask Judy a general question. So the nitrogen loading from a traditional 2-bedroom septic system compared to this IA technology that allows a 3-bedroom is the proposed system more or less nitrogen loading than a traditional septic 2-bedroom septic system?
It's better. Usually
Yeah.
if you put, you get a better nitrogen outcome with the 3-bedroom with IA than you would with a 2-bedroom without.
Right, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from board members? We have a recommendation from staff that we approve this request, and there are 6 conditions. I don't want to go through them quite yet. I guess I'll invite does anybody from the public wish to comment on this item on the agenda?
Yes, can you hear me? My name is Jeffrey Hendel.
Jeffrey, yes, we can.
Excellent. I'm going to put my wife Nancy on. She'll speak, and then I have a few comments when she's done. Thank you for the time. Here's Nancy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nancy.
Okay. First of all, welcome to the Collins if they're on. I am looking forward to becoming friendly and courteous neighbors. I'm looking forward to a beautiful home being built there. I have already been told this variance is going to go through as they are never denied. My aim is not to try to stop it. I have no problem with the 3rd bedroom and the septic system necessary for it. However, I have deep concerns regarding its placement and hope you'll take them into consideration before you accept this plan as it is proposed. The septic system will abut our property line and is placed at the lowest point of the entire plot. The land has been clear cut and regraded so that any potential problems with water drainage, soil stabilization, and erosion will flow downward into this area. We are seeing erosion already occurring on the back and side slopes surrounding the plot. There are also 3 rivulets cutting through the sand on the northeast corner of the property, spilling into this area from recent storm runoff. I am not convinced this spot can handle both the septic system and the potential problems that may occur due to the topographical changes. I'm not sure the proposed wall will be adequate in its attempt to hold back soil and water from the home itself and the additional runoff water coming now from the property to the south. And since no deep hole tests were performed in the proposed septic area, I don't understand how this log can be useful in determining the makeup of the soil. I believe there is substantial potential for what may be a problem on this plot being passed on to us as abutters, causing adverse conditions to our plot, and it is not legal to do so. I am hoping that precautions will be taken to avoid this from happening and feel that they must be in place before its acceptance. I also appreciate that after answering many questions from me, that Mr. Eldridge agreed to add a small berm to the proposed plan. It does not, however, alleviate my fears or adequately protect us from problems of flooding that could occur. I would appreciate knowing that more will be done before this proposal is accepted. I feel the berm needs to run the entire length of the property line in order to fully protect our land at home. I would also like to know that some plan is in place to revegetate the area with some fast-growing trees and plants like Leland cypress to hold the soil and slow any runoff. Basically, all I want is some assurance that the soil and water will remain within their property if there are any issues. Lastly, to the Collinses, if they're on, I would invite you to stop by so you can understand what I'm talking about, so you can see it all from our backyard. I am sure we can come up with an amenable conclusion to us all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Would anyone else?
Okay. Yeah, this is Jeff. Okay, I just have a few points. I fully echo my wife's sentiments here. You folks mentioned about the sloping issues on this plot. We've been in this house for 11 years, and I've lived in River Bay for almost 50 years. My parents' house was right down the street. So there's been a history of issues with this land here. I just wanted to bring those to your attention. First of all, I agree with Nancy fully about the placement of things, runoff, drainage, and erosion potential. But I wanted to mention something else here. Out at the road on Joshua Jethro, there are two drainage areas that were probably put into place in the late 1970s, because what happens in front of this proposed home is the low point on Joshua Jethro Road, and water would pool there and flood basements in this area. Once again, that was in the late 1970s. Then they put in some drainage culverts under Joshua Jethro to alleviate the problem. So I just want to let you know there's other issues here with those drainage areas in the front. And Thad spoke with us about it, and he gave me assurance, and I believe what he told me the plans would be, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention as the Board of Health. The final thing I want to say is I reviewed a few of the most recent Board of Health meetings on Channel 18, where you had a similar hearing about IA technology and a third bedroom going in. And what I saw in the meetings from August, both on August 3rd and August 17th, was that the members of the Board of Health were approving third bedroom IA technology, but with that, they were also very concerned about when the area would be sewered and these new homes or the third bedroom homes would be able to be connected to the town sewer. Well, I've spoken to the local manager for Weston and Sampson. I spoke to him probably about a year ago, and he confided to me that River Bay Estates is way down the road for sewering. He told me it would never happen in my lifetime. I'm 62, so I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go soon. I don't know. But just wanted to bring that to your attention, because it seemed to me that a lot of your decisions were tied around potential for sewering in the near future. And I hope you keep consistent on those decisions. That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Anyone else on the call like to comment?
Yeah, this
Question.
yeah, if it's okay, this is Rob Mahoney. I abut on the southern side of the property. And I don't know if this is the right venue to bring it up, but there's a very steep wall there now where it used to be a gentle slope. And my septic system, which is only a couple of years old, I'm worried that as that wall erodes, and you can already see some erosion, that my septic system is going to be exposed there and cause problems for everyone involved. I don't know if there's a way to have the berm or whatever the permanent solution that's going in there done quickly, as opposed to waiting for a potential disaster if the septic system gets exposed. So I don't know if this is the right venue to bring it up, but it's, if you look at it, there's clearly some, these recent rains have brought some erosion there, and I'm worried that if we get a significant period of rain, it could could collapse entirely there.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment or ask any questions?
Hi, this is Bill Marsh at Eastwood Companies. Can I make a few comments?
You sure can.
I want to let everybody know, if they don't already know, that I've been a builder my entire life, and that my career has been populated with many sites just like this site that are difficult at the outset, but that we work very hard with the neighbors and on the site itself to make sure that we control all runoff, all stormwater runoff, all rain, etc. We clearly understand our obligation under the law that we are not able to, and we have no intention of directing any runoff onto any additional property. I'm a little surprised to hear from Rob Mahoney, because at the outset of this project, Rob and I talked at length, and I was able to get from the Board of Health a copy of Rob's septic plan that was, the system itself was newly installed. And in fact, I furnished a copy of that septic plan to Rob. And if you look at that plan, which I'm sure you don't have in front of you, that plan had a vinyl barrier installed on the north side of the system that abuts our lot that we're building on, to control and not encourage a breakout condition. And I'd explained that to Rob, so I'm a little surprised to hear from him being concerned about that now. But with regard to that slope, which you can see clearly on the septic plan, our intention is to loam and seed that along with jute matting, and we're going to be talking to our landscape architect about his best suggestion for stabilization plants, which will probably include Bar Harbor juniper and that sort of thing. And we also talked to Rob Mahoney about working together to do some joint planting at the top of that bank to ensure and give privacy to both dwellings. I was also a little surprised to hear from Jeff, who I met at the site on 2 separate occasions at the outset of this project, and Jeff expressed to me personally out on the street there one day that he was thrilled that it was Eastwood Companies that was doing the work, because he knew that we would do a good job, be conscientious of the neighborhood and the neighbor, and we would work together in any effort that would be required. If we have any kind of a drainage issue, even though I think we won't, because this building is built into Carver sands, which are the best and most well-draining soils we have on Cape Cod. If we have to put in some additional drainage on the site in a low area, we will be doing that. And we have no intention, and we understand that we cannot direct stormwater runoff to any of our neighbors. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Rob again. Yeah, I don't have issue with the IA or with the home or anything like that. I'm just, and I understand what we spoke about. I'm just concerned that between now and then, we could have a problem. I know there's a membrane installed, but if the wall continues to erode, I think we could still have a problem. So it's kind of not specifically what we talked about. It's if the erosion continues on that steep hill there and that steep wall. So just for clarification.
This is John Beckley. Bill Marsh, what's the timing going to be on the installation of the stabilizing steps on the southern slope?
Especially understanding Rob's concern, and that's the steeper of the bank, the area that's more exposed, more subject to the possibility of erosion. We applied for our building permit about 2 weeks ago. We expect to have the issuance of the building permit in less than 2 weeks. The Collinses want to be in this house by next June, so we're anxious to get started. And I can say that as soon as we can get the foundation installed, we'll go after the banking before it gets any colder, and stabilize that and get that planted before the winter, the onset of winter.
Okay,
So I
good.
would say that by, where are we now? Almost end of October, that by the first week in December, we'll have that area stabilized.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all I was looking to hear. This is Rob again. That's all I wanted to hear, is that it was a priority to get that done, because I think it is the highest risk right now. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, John.
Yes,
Yeah, it's Bob Duncanson. I have a question through you to Bill Marsh.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, Bill, I'm just wondering what your plan is to deal with all the roof runoff and driveway runoff, because there's nothing shown on the plan.
Well, we really think that the natural vegetation, we see a lot of green grass and a lot of plantings for the columns around the entire perimeter, and then the front and rear yards itself. And I'm confident that those plantings along with the grass will absorb any runoff whatsoever that we have. If in fact it's evident through some subsequent or some rain that we're going to have in the future, we'll easily put things into dry wells if we need to. We kind of like to not do that because we've had freeze-back conditions when some of these dry wells get contaminated with leaves if the customer in the future doesn't clean out the leaves out of the gutters. So we'd like to stay away from that and let the site naturally absorb, and we're confident that that can happen.
No, that's exactly the direction I was heading in. I was hoping you were not going to be proposing dry wells because from an environmental perspective, they are not the best solution. So basically at this point, you're planning on using, for want of a better term, I'll call them rain gardens as part of the landscaping of the property. Is that accurate?
I would say that's accurate. And a good place to put that, Bob, is down near the street where you see the two drainage structures that the town put in where it says raised covers to grade.
Yep.
And that area would be a real likely candidate for a rain garden.
Okay, well, I'm thinking even up closer to the house in the back and whatnot. I think you've got plenty of opportunity to do that. You've got good draining, well-draining soils. So I think you can come up with some pretty creative ways to deal with any roof runoff and whatnot that might channel water onto, or potentially cause erosion on some of the steeper slopes. So, all right, I think you've got a good plan in hand.
Thank you.
does anyone else, this is John Beckley, does anyone else wish to comment or ask any questions? Does anybody wish to respond to some of Nancy's comments that maybe haven't yet been addressed?
This is Judy. Nancy mentioned concern about there not being any test holes in the area of the septic system. Test hole 1 is about 20 feet away from the primary system and probably 10 feet from the reserve. The other 3 are further out, but they were all extremely sandy, consistent soils. What I usually do in this type of situation is require a test hole at time of installation in the area of the septic, but I'm confident that we're not going to find anything different out there. This is, again, a very consistent sandy soil area. So I would say that, and then the system is located 10 feet off the property line as allowed by Title V. And it will be flat in that area, so I don't expect there to be any issues with runoff onto other areas once it's greened over. So that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is,
Can I add something? Question?
Sure, is this Nancy?
This is Nancy, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
I'm looking at the plan right now and I see this reserve area for a soil absorption system. Why do they need that? I don't understand it.
It's required under Title V to have a primary and a reserve area, so that if the primary failed, you would put the reserve area in. I've actually, in 40 years of doing this, never seen that happen. The reserve area is very rarely used. But
Okay.
they do require you to set aside an area on the lot where you could put a new septic system in if you had to.
Okay, thank you.
Noble?
Yeah, this is Noble. I would say I'm a new member on the board, and I don't think I haven't dealt with these runoff issues that are being brought up tonight. So I feel a little unfamiliar with that aspect of it. So I will have to rely a lot on what Judy and Bob Duncanson say about the plan and whether they think it's adequate. And I'm hearing that they think that the plan is adequate. My second question is, a lot of what I hear from Mr. Marsh is what he says he will do, and I have no reason to doubt him. But it's not necessarily, the landscaping isn't necessarily in the plan. And is that something the board gets into sometimes or not?
No, we don't usually get involved with planting plants. Sometimes we see them because if there's a conservation issue, but this is not an area that is in a conservation area, so we usually don't get involved. But my dealings with Mr. Marsh, if we did have issues, he's been very responsive whenever anything's come up, and we'll deal with things as they need to be dealt with. So I'm confident that this is a good plan. It is a tough lot, there's no doubt about it.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I had one other sort of a simple question or simpleton question. I'm not an engineer, obviously. I'll just ask, is there another place on the lot where the septic system can be placed?
One of the reasons why, and if you notice to the west, on the other side of Joshua Jethro Road, there's a well. So and there's an arc that shows the 100-foot setback. So they're trying to keep that septic system outside of the 100-foot setback from the well. And then you do usually want to put the system along the contours of the lot, which is how Thad has laid it out. So it seems like a reasonable place for it. And it's a large house. In order to keep the 10 foot off the property line, you're kind of squeezing it in between the house and the property lines.
Yeah, you mean you try to keep it at one of the lower contours?
Well, you run them along the contours, so you wouldn't run it, adjacent to a slope. You run it along the slope.
Parallel.
Parallel, correct.
That Eldridge here, just to add, there's a bathroom being proposed in the basement, and this design has gravity going out to the tank. So that's part of the reason why it's going along the north side where it's going to be lower. We're also proposing a pipe coming out for all the first floor flows coming out the front, with the idea that if sewer ever does come here and it's gravity, which there's no guarantee of that, they would have the option to put a pump in the basement for the basement bathroom, eject out to the first floor, and then gravity out to the street.
Okay.
This is Mark Hashey. I'm a neighbor, and our property abuts this lot. And I had a quick question as well. First of all, welcome to the Collins, and I thank everyone for the invitation to participate in the hearing today. I'm curious, and perhaps this question is directed to Bill Marsh. I'm curious what plans are in place to prevent erosion in the southeast and the back of the property. That's where our property abuts. There's also a pretty steep grade in that area as well as to the south, but curious what measures you have in place.
This is Bill Marsh. Our intention and plan on the landscaping is to stabilize the entire site such that there is no runoff and no erosion in any direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Judy, then this design complies with our Board of Health regulations completely, does it not? Judy?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, it does meet our code, the local Board of Health regulation and the state Title V regulation as well.
Okay. Well, I personally am okay with this, and I would welcome a motion to approve from a Board of Health member if somebody would like to do that.
Ed Sheehan, I'd vote to approve the,
Okay, we have
Item.
a motion from Ed. Do we have a second? Do we have a second from Ed's motion to approve?
Sorry, I was on mute. This is Noble. I second the motion. And can Judy read the conditions into the motion?
Okay,
Yes, so the conditions are, number one, the applicant should restrict the property to a maximum of 3 bedrooms and record the restriction on the deed. The applicant should sign a covenant with the board agreeing to comply at such time as the town of Chatham, through its Board of Health or Board of Water and Sewer, directs the connection of this property to the town sewer if it becomes available. The signed covenant and deed restriction will be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and a copy of the executed covenant shall be submitted to the Board of Health. Throughout the life of the system, it shall be under an operation and maintenance agreement. The O&M agreement shall be shall be in accordance with the Department of Environmental Protection, Norweco, Inc. certification for general use dated January 3rd, 2019, modified October 2nd, 2019. In addition, total nitrogen shall be monitored and performed to a standard of 19 milligrams per liter is required. Effluent shall be tested quarterly for the first 2 years, and then twice per year thereafter, approved by the Board of Health or its agent. The applicant agrees to apply a minimum of 6 inches of compacted topsoil to all landscaped areas of the property. The engineer shall submit an engineered as-built plan, including as-built elevations with a written certification that the system has been installed in accordance with the approval plan in Title V. No alteration to the floor plan of the dwelling or the engineered site plan will be allowed without further review by the Board of Health, and the variance will be granted pursuant to State Environmental Code Title V and the Town of Chatham subsurface sewage regulations is valid from 1 year from the date of the Board of Health approval. The permit must be issued and work commenced during that 1 year period, or the variance shall expire.
okay, thank you, Judy. So we have a motion, we have a second. Before I call the question, I wanted to give a final opportunity for anybody on the call from the community to comment before the board moves with the question. Hearing none, I'd like to call the vote. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote on the motion as proposed and seconded. Dr. Noble Hanson,
Approve?
Ed Sheehan,
approve.
Dr. Alan Ward,
Approve.
and I vote approve too. So it's 4-0. So the application is approved. And thank you, everyone, for your interest and your comments.
Thank you much. Have a good afternoon.
Take care. All right, let's go to item number 2 on the agenda, which is a variance for nitrogen loading regulation for additional bedroom without IA technology for Matthew Hubble at 26 Carolyn Drive. Mr. Hubble, are you representing yourself on this application?
Yes, yep.
Okay, you have the floor. Kind of give us an overview of what's going on, what you're requesting and why.
Yep. So, it's not as exciting as the last one that was just presented, but basically we purchased 26 Carolyn Drive back in July, and it has a recently approved or inspected past Title V for it has a current 4-bedroom septic. Currently, there's 2 bedrooms in the house. There's a unfinished kind of storage room in the upstairs that the previous owner was using as kind of like attic space. And, you know, currently all my 3 children are in the one room, but the idea would be to finish off that, that attic space into a 3rd bedroom. And that's kind of the gist of it. It's a, let's see, it's like a 12 by 13 room, has an existing closet and window and everything. And so it would just be basically turning that into a finished bedroom space.
Okay, and what about the sewer line?
So there's currently, I think there's sewer on the street. It's not active yet because I think they're still building pump houses somewhere. At least that's my understanding of the state of it. The street was dug up, I think, last summer, and pipes are in place. And there's a green stake in the front yard. So I'm assuming that at some point we'll be notified that we could hook up. But I don't know anything of the sewer project just yet. As I said, we're relatively recent to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Dr. Duncanson, can you comment on the sewer line there?
Yeah, sewer was installed on Carolyn Drive last spring and over the winter. The contractor is finishing up a pump station down on Perch Pond, which should be completed sometime over the next several months, probably if not by the end of the year, shortly thereafter. And then once the entire system is completed, inspected, and approved by the town, we would be in a position to start connecting folks up. So I would anticipate that would occur sometime either next spring or late spring of 2021. So within a year.
Very good. Any Board of Health members want to comment or ask any questions on this application?
Yeah, this is Noble. This is for Judy, I guess. There's a note here that says the existing septic system is large enough for the 3rd bedroom. So the system that was inspected, was that system approved for a 3rd bedroom now? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, when the system was put in, it was put in large enough for 4 bedrooms. But they only had 2. So it definitely is more than large enough capacity for them to add the 3rd bedroom at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And with the sewer line imminent, it's even more reasonable.
Correct, because if they put the IA in, they then get to keep the IA for how long is it?
10 years.
10 years.
But we don't need to require the IA here because of the.
Correct, but yeah, there's a 10-year use of the IA that goes along with it. Okay, thank you.
So correct. So the variance that they're requesting is to not have to put the IA in order to get the 3rd bedroom.
Correct. Understand.
Right.
And under the circumstances, I'm fine with that personally.
It's normal. Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Who hasn't already? Can I get a motion to approve?
This is Noble. I'll make a motion to approve the variance, and maybe Judy can read the conditions at some point.
Can we get a second on that first? Ed?
Alan, second.
Alan seconds. Okay. Judy, can you read there's only 2.
Yep. So the applicant should restrict the property to a maximum of 3 bedrooms and record this restriction on the deed at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. The applicant shall submit a copy of the executed deed restriction to the Health Division. The second is the property should be connected to town sewer within 180 days of being so ordered.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. The conditions have been read. I'd like to call the question. When I call your name, please say how you'd like to vote on this motion. Dr. Hanson,
Approve?
Ed Sheehan,
Approve.
Alan Ward,
Approve.
and I approve. That's 4 votes to approve and nobody against. So that motion passes. So, thank you, everyone. You're good to go, Matthew.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next agenda item is an update on the COVID-19 situation with Dr. Duncanson. Dr. Bob?
Good afternoon, everybody. So just our quick bi-weekly update on where we stand. Right now, worldwide, there are 40.2 million cases of COVID-19, and we have 1,160,000 plus deaths in the world. In the US, we are currently over 8.1 million cases, and we are over 219,000 deaths in the United States. In Massachusetts, as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, we are at 144,488 cases, and we are at 9,753 deaths. And both of those numbers include both confirmed as well as probable cases. They may differ slightly from numbers you might hear in the news tonight because they generally are only reporting confirmed cases. But we historically, since last spring, have been reporting both confirmed as well as probable cases. In Barnstable County, we are currently at 1,898 confirmed cases, and we are at 181 confirmed and probable cases. A slight difference there based on the way the state is currently reporting county level case numbers. And in Chatham, we currently have 35 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and the same, not the same, but luckily we still only have 2 confirmed deaths of Chatham residents that we've been carrying since basically the beginning of the summer. The case count in Chatham for the number of confirmed cases has kind of gone up and down a little bit recently because we did have a couple of cases that were initially reported to us, but upon further contact tracing and all by the VNA, it turned out those residents did not necessarily live in Chatham. So our case count has fluctuated a little bit between 34 and 35, but we are now at 35 confirmed cumulative cases since the pandemic began. And right now we basically only have 1 or 2 active cases that are being tracked. We have 1 case that was reported to us today. It is not, it's in the system. It is not an absolutely confirmed case because it was a active case by antigen test, and it has not been absolutely confirmed by PCR as of yet. So, you know, that's why those numbers can fluctuate a little bit based on some changing circumstances. So as I'm sure everybody knows, you know, the case count in Massachusetts, actually Massachusetts reported, I think it was almost 800 and some odd cases today, actually 827, which is the highest number we've seen since last spring. You know, the case count on a daily basis has been going up. We had a period there where we were pretty much up in the 700s. It dropped back down to 500, and now we're back up in the 800 range. So, you know, clearly the number of cases is going up in Massachusetts. Not all that can be attributed to increase in testing, although, you know, there has been an increase in testing, although, you know, today we had roughly 17,000 tests reported, which is not an unusual number for Massachusetts. That's why I say, the fact that we're seeing increased case count is not directly attributable to just the fact that we're doing more testing. And the fact that we're seeing a higher caseload is pretty consistent with the entire northern tier of the country, and for the most part, most of the United States, as well as Europe and other areas around the world that are seeing an increase in cases as the colder weather sets in. People spend more time indoors. I don't know if the Board of Health was on the selectmen's call last week, but one of the things last week the state did report on, they had taken a look at some of the numbers over the last several months to see if they could tease out, where these increased cases were coming from, or where what the real cause of increased clusters was. It continues to be long-term care facilities, but the second significant source of cases or clusters was household contacts. There was a lot of discussion earlier on about, some of the political demonstrations and some of the other demonstrations that had gone on, and whether or not, we'd see a spike from those, but really we didn't. And so just, it's still long-term care facilities and household contacts is the primary cause of increased cases and increased clusters. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because that, that was some not new, but some more definitive information that came out of the Department of Public Health last week. And then the final thing that I wanted to touch on tonight was Halloween, which, as everyone knows, is less than 2 weeks away. We've had a lot of discussion within town about Halloween. There was several meetings held where there was some thought about the town potentially sponsoring some kind of event, either kind of a walkthrough or a drive-through to kind of provide a safer, more controlled environment for Halloween, as opposed to, neighborhoods doing what they've been doing for a long time. We did reach out to one neighborhood, which is the Alcana neighborhood, which is very popular every Halloween, and tends to get very crowded and whatnot, because we had gotten a couple of inquiries from folks in that neighborhood as to, what guidance and all would be forthcoming, and whether the town was going to limit Halloween and whatnot. Chatham is not limiting Halloween trick-or-treat activities. We have been providing information on both the CDC and the State Department of Public Health guidance through the website and through Channel 18 and through meetings like this. But we did reach out to the neighborhood, had some conversations with some representatives from the neighborhood, and said, well, if the town were to do something, would that cause the neighborhood not to do what they've normally done in the past? And the feedback we got basically was no, the neighborhood was still going to have the activities or the trick-or-treating activity that they normally have, potentially doing it in a more COVID compliant manner, which was good news. So based on that information, because the town was going to step in if we could, kind of get a sense that it was going to result in the neighborhood maybe not doing something, as a way to kind of control the activity in a little better format. When the neighborhood said no, they were going to continue to, the gist of it was the neighborhood wanted to continue, doing what they've doing, but doing it in a COVID compliant manner. So the town decided not to sponsor any direct town activity. So there are going to be some other sponsored activities. I know of at least one business entity that's providing a drive-through trick-or-treat opportunity. So, at this point, we've reached out to the neighborhood. We're providing them with information. The police department's going to work with them, and hopefully we're going to kind of set up a one-way trick-or-treat venue, if you will, to try to limit, as much as possible, groups interacting, but kind of have a one-way flow through. So one of the things that the neighborhood was, or the town was considering, was providing, we're going to provide them signage and whatnot. We've already provided them handouts to give out to all the residents in the neighborhood as terms of suggestions for how to do trick-or-treating in a COVID compliant way. But I did want to throw out to see if there was any interest in the members of the Board of Health from possibly, being in the neighborhood and being willing to provide information out to people, such as, requiring a mask, following, social guidance, social distancing guidance, or physical distancing guidance, if you will. We could provide some masks for you to hand out if people don't have them. It would probably be from about 5 to 8 on Saturday night. We're not requiring anybody to be there, but the police department was looking to see if, we through the health department could provide some assistance. The police department will be on scene. They will have some officers there, as they would normally do, just to kind of handle the traffic. But obviously, they're not going to get into wearing masks and physical distancing and things like that. And we're looking to see if we had, or if the board had any interest in someone being there during that time to, kind of just show the flag, if you will. So I throw that out there. So that's all I have for tonight's COVID update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, this is Noble. I had a couple of quick questions. Noble Hanson, a couple of quick questions for Bob. Any update on the schoolhouse pond restoring the parking? And were you able to contact the transfer station about monitoring masks?
Yes, yes. I did have I'll take the second one first. I did have a conversation with the transfer station, with the DPW director, as well as the transfer station foreman. They were going to be, reaching out to their staff, as well as, folks when they come into the transfer station, just to remind them of the requirements and whatnot. So they were going to try to become a little bit more proactive in responding to that situation. With regard to Schoolhouse Pond, we did reach out to the Park and Recreation Director, who was going to deal with the concrete blocks once they were able to set in place, the resources that they need to move them. They're a couple thousand pounds, so you can't just pick them up, throw them in the back of a pickup truck. But they were going to go ahead and follow up with that. The signage was all going to remain, in place. The signage regarding parking on the perimeter and parking out on Sam Ryder Road. So that was all going to remain in place because everybody felt that those were good things to just keep in place going forward, seeing as how we don't know what next summer may look like. So that's just a quick update on that. I know the Park and Rec Director has been on vacation. He was on vacation last week and he's on vacation this week. So I don't know if he's had a chance to set in motion the removal of the concrete blocks.
Okay, that's great. And then Judy, just quickly, any feedback from the restaurants about our order?
No, I really haven't heard anything from any of the restaurants of any concern.
Good.
John, just so you know, John Beckley, you're still muted.
Oh, I didn't know I was muted. Huh, thank you. Thank you, Bob, for your comments. Any final questions for Dr. Duncanson before we move on? Okay, hearing none, let's, the last thing we have to do tonight as a board is approve the minutes. We've got minutes that was included in our packet for October 5th. I did see some edit areas there that I thought needed to be clarified. And I can go to those right now. Diane,
John, it's Alan. I'll be abstaining since I was not at the meeting.
okay, thank you. Diane, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, there's some wording here that is a little bit confusing to me. I'm not sure. On
Okay.
page 4, bottom. Dr. Duncanson reviewed that question, that's the sentence.
Yep, yep.
You reviewed the comment section on right of draft order with the board. I'm not sure.
Oh, there was some highlighted on the right-hand side, the little text areas that he had.
Okay,
Sections. I can clarify, I can redo
Okay.
that a little bit more.
just to make, okay, so that's one item. On page 5, the third paragraph from the bottom. Dr. Hanson,
Okay,
Dr. Hanson suggested that the restaurant keep posting for 1 week period. Ron Broman noted it should be the need to be careful not to identify an employee's position.
Okay,
Strike held and strike public. Employees, when closure is posted, period.
okay.
And then the very next sentence, John Beckley inquired if restaurants have handouts for information of identification, information for identification of close contacts. Okay,
Okay, yeah,
and then the next page 6. Fourth
Hey,
paragraph.
John?
Yep,
Yeah, just before you go to page 6, back on page 5,
at the bottom.
the third paragraph up from the bottom.
Yep,
I think it should be Ron Broman noted the need, not that need, the need.
yeah,
yeah, that's what I
he
said.
said.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought I still heard you saying that.
Okay. And on page 6, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4 from the top, Dr. Hanson suggested posting of disclosure be for 1 week and not for 96 hours, period. Restaurants have the right to decide if they want to patronize the establishment rather than patron.
Okay,
Okay. And then the next few monitors tracking. I'm not sure the next sentence is worded too clearly. Judy Giorgio, the next sentence, Judy Giorgio stated that the VNA usually contact individuals between 1 to 2 days, period. She monitors tracking and when no additional information is provided and is complete. Is that Judy monitors tracking or VNA?
yeah, Judy.
Judy
I can
monitors,
put Judy.
okay. And when no additional information is provided, it is considered complete. All
Okay.
right. And then 2 more paragraphs down, John Beckley recognized Elaine Gibbs
Yes,
from the public, period. And I think that's all the edits that I saw, all the clarifications. Does anybody else have anything they want to clarify? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
This is Noble. Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, can I get a second? Ed?
Ed Sheehan.
Okay, a second from Ed. Okay, when I call your name, please indicate how you vote on approving the minutes. Dr. Hanson,
Approve.
Ed Sheehan,
Approve.
and I approve. So we have 3 votes. Alan is deferring because he wasn't there. Okay, that's it. That's all we have on the agenda for tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Ed Sheehan.
And Ed, a motion to adjourn. Noble, can we get a second to adjourn?
Noble, a second.
Okay, all in favor? When I call your name, please indicate how you vote on the motion to adjourn. Dr. Hanson,
Approve.
Ed Sheehan,
Approve.
I vote to approve. Alan, you want to vote on the adjournment? Nope.
He's having his coffee.
Well, Alan may have hung up because he wasn't needed anymore. But we have the votes to adjourn, so the motion is carried to adjourn the meeting. That's it for tonight, everyone. Thank you for your participation and your input. Good night, everyone.